Well, my name is Gretchen Hunter, and my mom has been here about 4 months, I think.
I
Um,
think so.
and, the decision about bringing her to a memory care facility was heartbreaking, but we didn't really have any choice. We could no longer, my dad, who's 88, couldn't really care for her at home, even with my help. And so my mother's a really very independent woman who has always been sort of in charge of things and not terribly social. She's kind of an introvert. And I worried a lot about how she would adjust to living in a community, let alone how she would adjust to not being able to be in charge of things. And I lay awake nights worrying about it. My husband and I visited every memory care facility in the valley. And when it came down to it, there really wasn't any decision to make. It was so obvious to me that Roxanne, the people here had an attitude. At least it seemed that way. It seemed like they had an attitude where they really cared about the people who lived here. Although, I didn't know. I was so worried, and I knew my mom was going to be really difficult at first. I just knew it. But we didn't have any choice. So as it turns out, she was really difficult for the first couple of weeks at least. She has a sundowners thing, and she was angry and she was frightened and she was still in pain. And it was really hard for my dad to see, and it was really hard for me to see and to know how to deal with it. But the staff here, it just blew me away. The people here were so calm about it, and they said to me, "Look, this happens a lot of times when people are making transitions. We know how to handle it. Here's some books that you might want to read. If you have any questions, you can email, you can call, and we really encourage a family to spend time here." And that just compassion and competence were just, as time went along and mom adjusted and started kind of calming down, and I got to know some of the other family members, which was something I hadn't expected, how much I would get to know the other families who were here. It's kind of a little bit of a support group because um, there's some just really wonderful family members here, and the other guests here, the elders who live here. Also, my dad and I both, in particular, have gotten to know quite a few of the people who live here, and it it. I thought I was going to hate coming to visit, but I really enjoy it. I mean, I come in every day, and Dad comes in every day, and my husband comes in every day, and we look forward to talking to the staff that we've gotten to know pretty well, and some of the other elders who live here. And the one example, it was the first real. Um, it brought tears to my eyes, and it brings tears to my eyes every time I think about it. It seems like probably a small thing, but for a while there, it was really hard to talk with mom and relate to her. So we started bringing in photographs. She really liked the photographs, and so they were stacked everywhere. We had them all over the place in her room. And I came in one day, and here was a photo album, this big photo album that had Evelyn on the front of it and little flowers pasted, and it had just been decorated by someone. And I opened it up, and here were these photos that we'd brought in, and they'd been glued in on colorful paper, and somebody had written the names of the people in the photos. And my mom's very hard of hearing and not terribly friendly, but someone had gotten her to tell them who these people were. They glued the pictures in, labeled them, and I was just floored. And I went out. Mom didn't remember who had done it, so I asked the med aide, and she said, "Oh, that was Tanya." And I went to Tanya, and I started to cry, and I said, "This was so above and beyond what, I mean, it's just putting together a scrapbook, but it meant so much to me, and that you got mom to tell you about these people." And she said, "It was okay." She said, "I had some time, and it was fun."
Yeah.
And that's so typical of the way Tanya and the others who, I could go down the list of names, but I stopped lying awake nights worrying about Mom's comfort, and just the knowledge that she's cared for by people who really care about her um, has made a huge difference in my life and my dad's life. And it's hard to know sometimes what's going on with my mom, but just knowing that people actually care about her, they're not just doing their jobs, made a big difference for me.